Hello, everybody. Welcome inside of room 442. It's Albert Vartanian here, and I'm joined by James Sharman, Michael Singh. Just 18 days, guys, 18 days until the World Cup in November, which is still very strange to me. But we're going to start ramping up our World Cup coverage, specifically talking about Canada. And I had these two guys come up with their preferred Canadian 11s heading into the World Cup. Mikey, let's start with yours. Let's pull it up here. You decided to go with a 3-4-3 formation, but talk us through why you decided on some of these players.
Yeah, I think the back three it's been their back three since qualifying, right? I don't think there's many changes there that they're going to make. Now, the one, I guess, notable addition that I had to my 11 is Richie Laryea. Now, I know he's out of season. He didn't really have the best games down the stretch, but for whatever reason, when he puts on a Canada shirt, he elevates his game to a different level. And having him in the 4 allows Canada... It frees up some stuff because it allows Canada to play Buchanan, Davies, and Jonathan David up top. And I'm thinking, if I'm a defense and you have those 3 running at you, no defense in the world wants that.
You're just trying to get as much pace into that 11 as possible.
They love playing on the counterattack, and it allows them some flexibility, right? If you want, you can drop back into a back 5 and then maybe a back 4 in the middle with the one up top, or a 5-3-2. It allows them some flexibility. So that's why I like Laryea in that spot.
And we've seen Herdman, play a 4 at the back as well, right? So that's also an option, but most likely a back 3. You decided to go with the back 3 as well. For both of your 11s, you both decided to add Atiba Hutchinson in the middle of the park. Why, James?
Yeah, well, listen, the experience. He's still arguably the best midfielder in the group. I know he's old. I know he's barely played. He's come with an injury, but it's Atiba. He's your leader. You can't put him on the bench unless you have to. So it's as simple as that. So they are my midfield steel, him and Stefan Eustáquio, who is becoming, arguably as important as Alphonso Davies to this team. He's been just brilliant at Porto this year, playing in the Champions League. Scored again this week, by the way. So that's my steal there. I love your 11, by the way, Mikey. I'm not going to argue with that 11. I understand everything you said. But for me, I put Tajan as a wingback because I wanted to get Junior Hoylett in there, just for the experience as well. And it's a 3-4-3 or a 3-4-1-2, allowing David to play off either Fonzie or Hoylett. I think he's better playing off another striker for that reason. But it gives you options. And as we know, you watch John Herdman's Canada. They evolve throughout the game, and maybe a 3-4-3 to start. By 15 minutes, and it could be a 4-4-2.
Exactly.
And it could be a 4-4-2 at this point as well, right? That's the flexibility he has. And it was fun doing this exercise, actually, because there's so many options out there. I hated leaving Richie out. So I'm a huge fan of his. But I like the pace with or without Richie in the 11 there, and Tajan on that right-hand side pushing up is really exciting. But yeah, there's options. And as much as when we broke down Belgium and Croatia the last couple of weeks, I kind of felt a little bit, could be a long World Cup for Canada. Not literally, but a tough one. But then you go through this, and you realize how they do match up very well. How they have got that dynamic pace, and how actually, they are a very good team, and that's a fun thing to try and do. Try and guess John Herdman's 11.
Oh,
it's always fun.
It's a very fluid formation, but what I got from this is how balanced Canada can be at 100% health, which they aren't. And that's why I wanted to mention Atiba Hutchinson. In goal, this is what I really want to talk about. You guys both decided to go with Milan Borjan, which really no argument there. But can you make the case that if he has a bad game against Belgium in the opener, that his leash is short enough that Crépeau can come in and take over?
It would be a very tough case to make based on what he's meant to this team, for not only his ability in goal, by the way, which I think saved Canada
numerous times,
a couple of points in the qualifying cycle. So he has that leash because he's done it, been there, done that. But also when Milan Borjan is standing behind you, it's like having another captain on the field, another leader on the field, right? And I mean, no one represents what this Canadian men's national team means, honestly, more than Borjan and his story. And I think there's just so many different intangibles about having him on the field that he is virtually undroppable, even though Max Crépeau is having another fantastic season.
Borjan, obviously, for as good as he is, some of the incredible saves he's made, kept 9 clean sheets in qualifying, which was the most in CONCACAF. He is prone to some mistakes. His distribution isn't great. If those start really creeping out during these World Cup matches. Once again, does Herdman go to his backup?
No, it's so rare that you see a goalie switch at World Cups. Unless, of course, you're the Dutch side before a penalty shootout, right? That happens now and again.
Masterclass.
It works out for him. But yeah, I don't see it. And you're right, he's not perfect, but there isn't a perfect goalkeeper in the squad. And John Herdman is a loyal manager. Part of the reason why Canada finished first is because of Milan Borjan. Simple as that. He made some game-saving stops. Big personality, and he's been great for Red Star this year. They're unbeaten this campaign. I think 6 goals against in 15 games. And yes, Max has been brilliant as well, and he could well be coming to the World Cup as a champion in MLS. Is quite possible, right? But yeah, it would take a hell of a lot to see Milan drop
It's
the
a good
bench in
problem
this.
to have.
It is, yeah.
Who's going to go down in the 70th minute when you need a timeout?
Well, Dave Sinclair's a great
Master of the
goalkeeper.
dark arts.
They're really deep
Yeah.
at goal, and in 2024, that will probably be Max's World Cup.
2026,
But 26, sorry.
Yeah.
But don't rule out the number 3, Sinclair.
I did notice no Kyle Larin in either of your starting 11s. I just want to throw some numbers at you. Since October 1st, guys, he's only played 46 minutes of football, 1 goal this season. How concerning is it for Herdman that his top scorer is so bad, so much out of form?
Before the last window, I would have said it's concerning because they had the same issue leading up to the last window.
Right.
And then he comes on against Qatar and does what Kyle Larin does every time. Like Richie, when he puts on a Canada shirt, just turns into a completely different animal. He is this team's all-time leading scorer. So concern, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but I do believe he is not undroppable from this 11, right? And my preferred 11, as you mentioned, I didn't have Kyle Larin in there. And that's because I think Canada need to play more stingent in the midfield. They need to clog up that midfield a little bit more. And he's the one player, unfortunately, based on his form, that is undroppable from the 11.
I'm a bit concerned because not just because Larin's not playing great football, or not playing football, full stop, but Ugbo isn't playing much at the moment either. Just 1 goal in the campaign as well. So there isn't much depth beyond John David. But like you said, Larin steps up and puts that shirt on and he plays like a different animal entirely, but he's going to be rusty. And I like we discussed with our 11s, I think the formation almost suits the single striker in some regards here. But we'll see a different 11 each game as well. Don't forget that. This won't be 1 11 for Belgium, Croatia. He will start a game, likely against Morocco, I would think. So yeah, I'm concerned. Yeah, it's not the strongest part of this team up front, that's for sure. But there's depth issues at the back as well. So we have to still remember they're balanced when they're all healthy, but it's still Canada. Right? The depth isn't world class.
No, and in the midfield, there's a bit of a concern right now. So quickly, I just want to ask you guys this: if you're John Herdman, I'll start with you, James, and Atiba and Ozo, they're not going to be 100% fit to play, even if they're on the plane to Qatar. Do you make that phone call to Scott Arfield?
Ooh, Scott Arfield. I would. I don't think John will.
Why?
He hasn't done it so far, and they had a conversation, and Arfield decided, I'm going for my club. And like I mentioned, he's loyal to his squad who got him there. I think Arfield would have a really important role in that squad if he was healthy. He's still a class player. I've always liked the way he plays at Canada as well. So I would make the phone call for sure. And bear in mind, it's 26-man squads. There's place for a Scott Arfield in this squad. But I just don't think John Herdman will.
Mike?
He retired. Scott Arfield retired because he got left out in March, right?
But surely, like, if the manager of Canada is calling you to go to the World Cup next month, that has to sway you one way or the other.
If I'm Scott Arfield, I would love to go.
Right.
I just don't think John Herdman
and
would.
he feels such an important gap.
What if Arfield calls John Herdman?
Oh,
goes,
good point,
I'll sign the papers and I'll be available.
You got to take him.
Listen, he's probably in their best 11 if Scott Arfield is in a Canada shirt. I just don't see it happening because as John Herdman's a really loyal guy to the group. Who gets left at home if Scott Arfield comes? Right? It's people who have been there, done that. Maybe it takes away minutes from a guy like Ismail Kone, who we know is stepping into his own and really coming into his own right before this World Cup.
Of course.
So
and he brings so much experience, which is needed at this level.
he's playing Champions League football, or he was playing
Well,
Champions League
it was
football.
Rangers, and they were the worst ever Champions League
Yes, but
performance
at least
by
he
a
scored a
team.
goal. At least he scored a goal. Okay, that's it for the Canada chat. We're going to have more of this leading up to the World Cup. But coming up after the break, TFC news. Our man Mikey's going to fill us in. Welcome back inside room 442. It's Albert Vartanian with James Sharman, Michael Singh. Time to talk some Toronto FC. Mike, a DP spot is open for Toronto FC. What's the latest on that situation?
Yeah, so what I can tell people is that to temper your expectations in terms of what exactly this DP is going to look like. Obviously, right now, TFC's DPs are Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Bernardeschi. And what I'm hearing is that that third DP will be of a much lesser stature. And essentially, that's what Bill Manning said at his end of season press conference. He said no team in MLS signs 3 players of that caliber, right? So unfortunately, the reality is TFC, with the way that they're spending, if you look at the numbers last year, they were the highest spending club in Major League Soccer with just those 2 players. Those 2 players alone made more than 23 of the 27 teams in Major League Soccer. So there's a huge investment, a significant investment in those 2 players. And ultimately what that means is that the overall budget of your team will be less. So I do believe TFC have to scale back their spending in some regard, and that means there might be some casualties along the way.
So James, they have this spot open at the moment. What position do they need to fill?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's the question that all TFC fans are asking right now. And I know Mikey wrote about this a little bit in his article on room442.com. They need a defender, centre back or 2. They need a central midfielder. They need perhaps a striker as well. It depends, of course, on who's leaving. If Ozo leaves, that frees up money as well, a lot of money. If Chris Mavinga leaves, that frees up a lot of money as well. So yeah, they need to fill up several spots here at the same time. They've got to free up money, but they can do that also by the departures. So there's so many layers to this off-season, it seems.
Yeah, it's a trickier off-season, I think, than they've had in the past. And I know Bill Manning keeps relating it to the 2015 going to 2016, but I think this one's a little bit different because you're going to see more departures than that year, and they're also playing with a more confined budget, and they have to fill, like I said, a lot of different spots. So listen, the 2 things they need to address, and they've come out and said this, is they need to find a way to keep the ball out of the back of their net. And it's not just going to be one player that helps do that.
Right, this season.
Yeah, you're going to have to bring in 3, 4 defensive-minded players to help you do that.
Goalkeeper too.
Goalkeeper as well, right? And I think that's a position they're going to spend a good amount on. It won't be a DP, but they're going to invest heavily in that goalkeeper spot. So you need a couple center backs, you need a couple central midfielders, and then, of course, you need someone who can consistently put the ball in the back of the net. And that's not Jesus, that's not Ayo. They need another striker.
And one departure that may happen is Jonathan Osorio leaving. What's the latest on him?
Yeah, I mean, it's the status quo, and it's what we've been reporting the entire time. He's going to wait until after the World Cup to make his decision. But ultimately, the issue is he's asking for a lot of money, right? If Toronto want to sign him now, he's asking for a lot of money. And quite frankly, as good of a player as he is, he means a ton to this club. He's not worth what he's asking.
DP money?
Essentially near DP money, like around that area, right? So it's a lot of money he's
Why
asking
isn't
for.
it worth it? I mean, I've had this conversation before about Ozo. You know what you have in him, right?
Yeah.
He's a guy that can be a great player in Major League Soccer. You know the character of the guy. So why isn't he worth a DP spot?
Like a lot of people are suggesting that. And for me, when you look at the direction that this club is going, they've taken gambles in the past with people who are on the other side of 30.
No.
Osorio's on the other side of 30, right? And okay, he keeps getting better year after year, but there's also the issue that he can't stay on the field. And we've seen what Osorio looks like with these other Italians. It's great. It's fantastic. It's a proven concept. I just don't know if the needle is moving in Major League Soccer in terms of the quality of your DP. I don't know if Osorio falls under that.
And he has a desire to leave as well and play some European football, just like many other players want to do in their careers. But anyway, that's it for Toronto FC. We'll be keeping you updated on that throughout the offseason. But coming up next, some more World Cup chat, this time preview of Group G. Group G features Brazil, Switzerland, Serbia, and Cameroon. 5-time world champions, Brazil are the only nation to have qualified for every single World Cup finals to date. And this time around, the Brazilians arrive in Qatar, courtesy of the best South American World Cup qualifying campaign in the history of the competition, going 17 games unbeaten and racking up 40 goals in the process. With the likes of Neymar and Vinicius Jr. in the ranks, Brazil boasts some of the finest attacking players in the world. And at -350, Chi-Chi's side looks dead certain to top the group. Switzerland beat World Cup holders France at the Euros, securing their first knockout round win at a major tournament in over 80 years. And Murat Yakin's side were equally impressive in World Cup qualification, twice drawing against Italy to top the group with only 2 goals conceded across 8 matches. Top players include Arsenal's Granit Xhaka and Chicago Fire's Xherdan Shaqiri, who both have more than 100 caps at the international level. At +115, Switzerland are second favorites to advance to the round of 16. Although Serbia have qualified for 3 of the last 4 World Cup finals, they've so far failed to progress beyond the group stage of the competition. But after beating Portugal 2-1 on the final match day to top their group and go unbeaten en route to Qatar, Dragan Stojkovic's side will be confident they can do enough to progress this time around. Players to watch include Fulham's record-breaking striker Alexander Mitrovic and Juve's Dusan Vlahovic, and at +120, Serbia are close to third to make it out of the group stage in Qatar. Cameroon will arrive at their 8th World Cup finals in Qatar. No African side has ever gone farther in the competition. In qualification, the indomitable Lions topped their group and then booked their spot at the tournament courtesy of a dramatic away goals win over Algeria in the playoffs. Striker Vincent Aboubakar grabbed the headlines at the recent Africa Cup of Nations, scoring 8 times to finish as the tournament's top scorer. But at +250 to progress, Cameroon faces a stern test navigating the group phase in Qatar. Welcome back. It's time to talk some World Cup. Group G with one of the favorites in the group here, Brazil, guys. At the moment, -300 to go through as a group winner. Any argument there from you, James?
No, I mean, they're the deepest squad, I think, in the World Cup. I think it's simple to say. They have the star power. They got the steel. They got the experience. Check, check, check. I don't see a weakness in this team. Maybe the aging Thiago Silva, but then you got Alisson or Edison behind him in goal, and maybe Marquinhos beside him. So I think they're going to be just fantastic. That said, I think Serbia and Switzerland are 2 really good teams. And that match, by the way, is going to be so politically hot and volatile like it was last time we saw it, of course. Wasn't it Xhaka and I think Shaqiri with the controversial celebrations with their Serbian heritage? Anyway, let's not get into politics here. But that's going to be a battle. But yeah, Brazil, I mean, just even as good as these players are, the minute they put that shirt on, every Brazilian player rises to a new stature, it seems. And quite frankly, it's time we saw a great Brazil team win a World Cup again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a long time. Mikey, I mean, 40 goals scored, just 5 conceded. So the defense is sorted, but going forward, that's their bread and butter, right?
They have the ability, I think, to make 2 rosters worth of players based on this Brazil squad, and 2 quality rosters. But yeah, you think about the depth they have up top. Obviously, Neymar is the name that people are going to go to, but there's guys like Antony, Rafinha. You have, you throw Firmino, Gabriel Jesus,
Vinicius Jr.,
Gabriel Martinelli.
There's like 17 different names.
I mean, he doesn't need to, but yeah, he probably could.
Does Jesus make it?
Yeah, there you go.
He wasn't in the last squad, was he?
They don't really, they don't really have a true number 9, but I guess you don't need it when you have that attacking talent, right?
Exactly. You can get around that. So yeah, attacking is going to be their bread and butter.
Yeah.
But then they also have a solid midfield, obviously led by Casemiro, who's now rounding into form with Manchester United.
And Fred as well, right?
Fred, yeah, we'll see if he gets into the 11, but you have that chemistry, right? That pre-existing chemistry, which is a great thing. And yeah, this is a Brazil team that now has been together for a lot of time. They've grown up together. And I think this is their stage to merely make that deep run, and there's no way that they don't finish top of Group G here.
Let's talk about Serbia. Right now, they are +130 to qualify through the group. Undefeated in World Cup qualifying, topped the group with Portugal. Mitrovic as their striker, Vlahovic as their striker. They're pretty threatening going forward.
They are. They're great going forward, right? And Mitrovic is showing what he can do in the top flight this season, finally. We know he can do it for his country. How do you get him and Vlahovic on the pitch at the same time, though? That's the question, right? I know the coach has been messing with new formations. The last few games, they were great in the Nations League, topped their group. I would find a way to get both Vlahovic and Mitrovic on the pitch at the same time, because that's dynamic, that's physical, and it has, you know, some wiliness and some pace as well. So if they can manage that, I say watch out. I mean, listen, you see top teams drop points. So yeah, Brazil are favourites, but would it be shocking to see a Serbia get a point against Brazil? I don't think it'd be shocking.
No, they're tough to play against, right? They're going to make every single minute, every single game, whatever you want to call it, difficult. They're going to put the other team through hell on the pitch. And that's what Serbia has been for now a number of years. So
Yeah.
don't sleep on the Serbians. They can definitely.
They're
bluff an
due as
upset.
well, right? They haven't had great World Cups.
No.
As Serbia, just a couple of World Cups,
Oh,
fell
06.
in the group phase both times, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those teams that from Eastern Europe you expect them to break through, and they don't. But maybe this is the year.
Yeah. And don't forget about Kostic, Tadic, Milinkovic-Savic. They have some really good players. Let's talk about Switzerland. They topped their group as well with Italy. And the only team, they just conceded just 2 goals, which is the most in European qualifying. How much of a threat are they?
In years past, Switzerland have been right up there. Obviously, with what Shaqiri's been able to do for that country, you know he's due for at least one banger in this World Cup. He'll find his way to get on the highlight reel. But he's not the same player that he once was, right? And I think you can say the same about Switzerland. I don't think they're the same team they once were. That being said, they're still a quality team. And it's going to come down to that final match day, that Serbia versus Switzerland.
It's
So
going to be great.
it's like an early elimination game, I guess you can call that.
Okay, quickly, James, on Cameroon.
Yeah,
They finished third at AFCON. Any
African
chance
teams
here?
always let me down at World Cups. I think
Yeah.
this will be the year they're going to do it. AFCON's always a great tournament. We know that, right? And qualifying's so difficult, and they were very, very good. I understand that, but I don't see enough quality in there. And Onana, who's going to be the best midfielder in the world, according to you. In a
At some
couple of years'
point, he's
time.
going to be up there.
He's very good.
He's
don't get me
very
wrong.
good.
I love that they're coached by Rigobert Song, by the way. Rigobert Song's a guy that goes back to when I first started covering soccer, right? You know, he's a real flamboyant, charismatic centre half. He was great. Played for Liverpool. Maybe that's the reason. But he now he's coaching, which makes me feel really, really old. But they're a decent team, but I think they're very much going to be the team fighting for their lives in this group.
Yeah, Vincent Abubakar, their main threat. Okay, before we go, give me your top 2 to get through.
Brazil.
Second one's tough.
I'm going to say Switzerland just because I've said already that I think Granit Xhaka is set to be one of the stars of this World Cup.
Yeah, you're on the Xhaka train big
He's
time.
playing so well. I love the guy.
Okay.
Love his character. So because of him and what I said before, I've got to say that Switzerland will just pip Serbia. But like you mentioned, that match,
It's going to be
it's going to be the match of I think perhaps the match of the group phase, quite honestly.
Mikey?
It's a toss-up, but I'm going to go Serbia and Brazil. Brazil obviously finished first.
I'm with you. I'm Brazil, Serbia. It's going to be a fantastic World Cup. That's it for the show today. More coming up tomorrow. And like James always says, cheers for watching.